Hello, I'm Steel, and today we're playing a new game that I haven't shown here before called Railroads Online. What's happening with Brass? It's not, don't worry about it, don't even ask. Anyway, this is a game where you, well, first of all, it's based on American 3-foot narrow gauge trains specifically, which is like, gauge is how far apart the rails are, so this is less than the standard, so it's all small trains, small stuff. And this is based specifically on the American version, and all of what's cool is everything in the game is very realistic, like all the rolling stock and whatever. So this is an actual train that existed. I mean, I've put my own numbering and stuff on it, but these are actual rolling stock that existed and everything like that. And what's quite cool is that you have to build everything kind of yourself. You've got this system where you can click to place down track, and then right click to make it solid, and it kind of smooth things out a bit, but you've got to have a bit of skill to make actually decent track. I'd like to think I've got a bit of skill and can make actually decent track, but you know, we'll see in this video. And the goal of the game is to connect different industries, which are all marked on this map, up to the freight depot, which is where we are now, and it's where you start. And when you start off, you start with a tiny little locomotive, even smaller than this one. Well, it's the same model as this one, but it doesn't have this back bit, so it's got no capacity for wood, and that's all you start off with. And then as you progress, you have to buy new different types of carriages, and you have to build out new track. Because, for example, like, I can't carry logs in a hopper carriage, and I can't carry iron ore on one of these because it'd just pour off the top. So that's kind of the progression of the game, is that you connect new industries, and then once you've connected those industries, you have to buy new stuff to run to those industries, and then you have to buy new trains that are able to pull the new stuff that you're running to those industries. So at the moment, I've got the freight depot, the logging camp, the sawmill, the smelter, and the iron mine connected up all together. The iron mine is probably the most dicey run, because that's a very steep thing through all the mountains and whatever, and it's a bit of a mess. And so I'm kind of about halfway through the game progression-wise at the moment. Though locomotives-wise, not even close. The other thing that I've done, so the locomotives I have 4 in total, so this is my number 2. I have the starter one, which I keep down at the smelter for switching duties there. I've got number 3, which is all fancy looking, sitting over there for what I plan to do for this episode, and I've got number 4 sitting down at the smelter, and I use number 4 specifically for taking stuff up and back to the iron mine, because that's such a steep grade that this engine can't do it. Because this engine is actually like the second separate locomotive class you get in the game, so it's actually like, even though it's really flashy and cool looking, it's kinda bad. It can't actually pull that much, as in, like, I just pulled this lot of completely empty cars up from the smelter, and it was genuinely struggling. It almost bogged down, which is apparently what you say when it's not powerful enough to pull it and almost gets stuck. Also, this is the name of my railway, the Get Bent Railway Co., because when I started, I wasn't particularly good at building straight track. I'm slightly better, but I'm still not fantastic. Anyway, so what I want to do today is I essentially want to do everything except the log camp run. I want to go from here to the sawmill to pick up, because this will be a good way to show you most of my railway if you're normal. Is to go from the freight depot to the sawmill and stock up on beams and lumber, which are the 2 things the sawmill produces, and we'll fill that up in the train here, and then we will take that down to the smelter, where we will change over the engine we're using to use the locomotive I've got down there, number 4, and that'll pull this, which will be all loaded. This will get pulled up all the way to the iron mine and loaded, and unloaded to stock the iron mine, and then I will get iron ore and bring that back down to the smelter. So the very first thing I want to do is I actually want to move this whole long consist out there and back it in over here, so that I can pick up these hopper cars onto the back, because I have some down at the smelter, but I've just bought 6 more recently and I haven't brought them down yet, so I need to do that. Which means first and foremost, I need to move this train down the line a little bit so that I can actually get at these. And so this will be a nice way for me to actually show you how things actually operate in this game as well, because it's quite cool. So, you know, we've got our firewood here, and I can click to pick this up, and you have to restock this. There are firewood depots you've got, and all the levers and stuff are based on the actual cab layout that they would have. So here we've got the hatch, and that's the firebox, and as you can see, it's completely cold. In real life, this process would be a bit more complicated, but that would be a pain in the ass, so they haven't done it. You can see my boiler pressure is pretty high. It's high enough at the moment, so we'll pull, this thing is the throttle. It's called the regulator because apparently some places call it that instead, and it it's pretty obvious what it does. It controls your speed. You've got the handbrake and you've got the reverser, which makes you go forwards or reverse. And we just derailed. Cool. Well, that's another thing you can do in the game, which is derailing if your switches are set the wrong way. So you can see we were trying to come in from the right side here, but the switch was set pointing to the left, and so the train has just hit what's called the points, which is this bit here, and just, I mean, it's done this. You saw me almost get catapulted into the air. So let's re-rail this up the line a bit and just move it out of the way. And then I will start pulling that train in. Uh-oh, lag spike. There we go. Unfortunately, this game is very much early access, so there's a lot of glitches. The build system is a pain to work with. It's very rough around the edges, but I've gotten tons of fun out of this thing, as you can see by all the stuff I've got built, which you'll see more of as I move around. So let's get the brakes off and start pulling her forwards. Okay, and we have hooked in. We have now got an 18-car long train, which is pretty long for this game, especially on my... I mean, it's a good PC, but it's not a good PC, so it will struggle a bit. But now that we're ready, let's go. I'm like 99% sure I've set all the switches I need to, which are those things along the route. We'll find out if we derail horrifically, which is a pain in the ass to deal with, but it will make for good content. Let me just quickly save. That's the one thing at the moment with this game, is like a lot of UI elements, and definitely the save system are really quite clunky. There's no autosave, so just like remember to save frequently and ideally take backups, which I do. Man, she's really struggling to get started, isn't she? That's here we go. Yeah, this engine's, I mean, it's not fantastic. In fact, it actually has pretty similar pulling power to that tiny little one over there. The biggest advantage, I mean, it's about 1.5 times the pulling power or something. I think the biggest advantage is it's got better acceleration, and it's got this big tender, which means you can take it everywhere. It's got lots of space for wood and water, whereas those other ones just have what you can fit inside them. And then the tank is that weird saddle-shaped thing that was sitting over the top of the boiler, which isn't fantastic. Oh no. Oh, that's why we're struggling. That's a great start to the run. We're out of boiler pressure. That dial should be at like 125. Yeah, cool. Now, normally that's not a huge problem, but like the fact that the boiler pressure was dropping means that the water has gotten completely cold as well as the fire, which means it might take a little while to get back up to speed. So we're going to be just slowly rolling along at walking speed for a little while. And we're back up to temperature with pressure in the boiler. Luckily, this game doesn't have realistic times taken, because in real life it would have taken like a few hours to do that. Because steam trains don't really like to get hot. They have a lot of what's called thermal mass, which basically just means when they're hot they stay hot, and when they're cold they stay cold. Which is all good and fine if they're hot, makes them efficient. A bit of a problem if they're cold. But anyway, let's just pull it all the way out and go top speed, because we can. My computer is struggling a little bit with both recording and playing, but let's go. That switch is set. Yeah, so we're already coming into the sawmill just there, and then this triangle, which in railroading terms is called a Y, spelled W-Y-E for some reason, this heads off down into the valley that contains the smelter. So I actually probably don't want to be going that fast, because I need to set some other switches ahead of me here, and that means I need to outrun the train. Also, yes, you can just clip through the train like this. That's going to be changed in the future, but right now they're not doing it purely because with all the other changes of the game it's fine, so don't worry about it. Anyway, for the iron mine, what we need is 2 lumber for every 1 beam, which is actually perfect because the lumber loads 6 to a carriage while the beams load 3 to a carriage, which means we just need half-half carriages of lumber and beams. And so these are the beams there, and that's lumber over there, and we have got a 12-car consist plus our 6 hoppers on the back. God damn, that is a long train. And so we can just do 6 of each, which is a very nice round number. It'll also be fun to try and get 18 cars, 12 of which will be loaded up my kinda terribly made smelter iron mine track. Also, we're going to give the brakes on the Eureka a bit of a run for the money here with trying to come to a stop. So this loading process would be a friggin' pain. I mean, the loading process in this game, unfortunately... Oh, no. Okay, we've encountered a problem. Namely, there's not enough stuff in the sawmill, so we might actually have to go unload some logs anyway. Hold please while I figure out what to do, because I'm gonna need... Oh, yeah, hold please for a moment. Okay, so what I've elected to do is I've just decided to put this cargo back out onto the main line for now. Oops, bit of a lag spike. And then I can just bring the logging stuff around there. So now I've just got to bring this engine over to the log camp after I've set my switches and stuff. So soon we'll be there, and I will show you kind of the tedium that is the loading process in this game at the moment, because unfortunately it is very much a tedious process. Okay, so we are over here at the logging camp, where you can get two things. You've got this side here where you can load up logs, and you've got the other side over here where you can load up cordwood, which is used as firewood. And this kind of this place doesn't require any inputs. It's like one of the, pretty much the only industry that doesn't require any inputs actually, now that I think of it. But what's a bit tedious, so I have got 17 of these flat cars here, because that is the exact amount of cars I need to fully load the sawmill. The sawmill fits 100 logs, each of these cars carries 6 logs, and so at the sawmill what I'll need to do is I'll need 16 of these cars fully loaded, and then the very last one will only need 4 logs on it. But let me kind of show you why it's such a tedious process to load stuff. Is you've got to click on each of these cranes, and then one at a time it'll load the logs like this. And then eventually when you're done, you can then bring the whole train forwards just 2 cars at a time. So obviously it would be a lot faster if I had someone to help me, because the other issue with this is that, you know, by the time I'm loading those cars at the back, the train will be way off over there, and I'm spending more time running from the cars to the train to pull forwards than I do actually doing the loading. Future Steel here, what I'm about to say will probably sound a little weird, because originally I'd planned to put in a time-lapse of me loading the log cars, but after watching through during editing, I've decided that actually a time-lapse of me loading log cars in a process I specifically described as tedious doesn't actually make for good viewing content. Alright, and the astute amongst you of my viewers who actually paid attention to that might have noticed a couple of things, namely that a couple of my carriages are in fact derailed, and that this one isn't fully loaded because the logs kept rolling off the top of it. The reason I'm just continuing to move without actually putting the ones that are derailed back onto the tracks is that half the time when they're derailed like this, where they've just kind of slipped off the tracks, just pulling on them hard enough will kind of just yank them back on. So I've decided I'm going to elect to ignore the fact that they're derailed and just hope that when I start moving they get pulled back onto the tracks. And the reason this one isn't fully loaded is, so as I mentioned, I would normally leave the last carriage with only 4 logs on it. But this one I've gone, well, it's only got 4 logs on it anyway, and the logs just kept rolling off the top, so let's just leave that one. So now that that's the case, let's get, well, first I'm going to save in case anything disastrous happens. And then we'll get pulling and hope to God that nothing disastrous does happen. I have set all the switches ahead, so now you will get a nice view of my logging road. And normally I drive in first person because I enjoy it more, but for you, my dear viewers, I will drive in third person so that you can get a better view of my railway. So, oh wait, first let me check my firewood status. Is not good. Let's grab some more of this and chuck it in there. Look at that. Okie dokie, and we go brakes off, and we'll zoom out a bit for a better view. We can see the switch is set, and full reg. Reg is, the regulator is the throttle, it's the accelerator, it's the thing that controls your speed. So let's go. Oh yeah, you're supposed to do this when you're pulling out of the station. I'm not really sure what it's for, but apparently you're supposed to. Uh-oh. Nope. Okay, cancel this plan. That hasn't gone fantastically. Is that the first derailed one? Oh, that's the first derailed one. And the other one's derailed as well. Why has everything got to be so difficult? Why has everything got to be so difficult, I say, even though I blatantly decided to ignore the fact that I had multiple carriages derailed and just thought, yeah, if I pull hard enough, they'll come back onto the tracks. Okay, we're all coupled up and actually ready to go this time, actually on the tracks instead of being blatantly irresponsible. So let's go! Yeah, as you can see, this train's struggling a little bit to get started, which is actually kind of bad because you want... I mean, the later trains in the game would have absolutely no trouble pulling this because logs aren't actually that heavy. But, you know, it's fine because it's all downhill from here, literally. So we will be okay across a bridge that I made a little bit spicily in terms of the aesthetics. Kind of unnecessarily, and I kind of need to improve it because I actually don't like how it looks anymore. But I think it's still pretty nice. The real nice bridge will be when we're on the way to the iron mine, which will be a little while from now, because first I've got to stock up the sawmill, and then I've got to stock up the iron mine. But yeah, this is pretty nice looking. I like having the stone supports in with the wooden bridge. Just gives it a little bit of a better look. But what I really want to do is I want to change this out for like a stone supported steel bridge, which is a thing that you see in real life anyway, is you see the bridges where it's like just a steel box essentially sitting on top of stone pillars. But yeah, this is actually quite a short run. The distance from the log camp to the sawmill is like nothing. This bridge, like, that's the funny thing, is our train is like, uh-oh, wait, what? We've left part of our train behind. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no, no, no. Oh, this is going to be a problem because good luck getting started on this hill heading in reverse. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think I just genuinely forgot to connect them back up again. So yeah, let's sincerely hope that we're not coming in too fast, because if we are, we might actually derail that carriage there as we slam into it. But I think we're going alright. Normally, when it derails, it has to be a bit faster than this. Yeah, there we go. All good. All good. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. While we're at it, let's just make sure everything else is connected. Yep. Yep. Nope. That could have been a problem. And that's also got brakes on it, so let's remove those. And that's connected. Okie doke. Oh, what? What? Hey! What? What? It was going so well for me. Everything was going nice and smooth, and no. Why is it even? How is it even? It was perfectly on the tracks and coupled and everything. How has this happened? There we go, it's back, it's just re-railing itself. I'm not even going to ask. This game is a bit of a mystery at some point, sometimes with the physics of things. Hey, what? Oh, okay. I'm going to come back to you in a little while once we've actually reached the sawmill, because I get the feeling this might take a minute. Okay, and after more time than I would care to admit, I've finally gotten all 17 log cars to actually come down the line without derailing. I have no idea what was going on. The game was just really not liking something about this set of cars. But anyway, now we're pulling into the sawmill, and hopefully I will be able to actually unload everything. Let's even give it a bit of power. I actually haven't given it any power coming all the way down that hill. I just kind of didn't bother because I didn't need to. It all just rolled by itself. Okie dokie. So this comes to the fun part now, which is the unloading, because you get to kind of just stand on them and unload them into that pond. Let me just check that we've still got all 17. There should be the partially loaded one and then 2 more after it. Partially loaded one and then 2 more after it. We're all good. Thank God. Because this was like ridiculously time consuming for a log run. I think in future, chances are I'm probably just going to do a series of smaller log runs, because these massive ones, while they're really cool, are just a hazard. So let's slow down a little bit, because this is a bit of an enthusiastic speed, and hope that putting on the brakes doesn't derail something at the back. Ugh. Yeah, I 100% need someone to like come help me run trains when they're getting to this size. because you need kind of eyes at the back as well as the front. So let's get unloading. And it's done! Oh, thank God. That was just such an ordeal to get that done, my God. Let's bring this train to a halt and then just make sure that the sawmill is actually completely full before we do anything stupid. Basically what should happen is that both of these should become exactly full to exactly 100. So we'll just need to make sure that that's the case. Let's just slow down this whole thing and save before I forget, because I don't want to lose this progress if I derail. Because goddamn, if I have to try and do this again, I'm actually just gonna cry. This is Future Steel here, so I'm actually in editing for this episode at the moment, and I've kind of realized that actually it's already a very long episode, and that's just with the stuff I've got there, and I do have quite a bit of footage ready to make more. So I'm going to end this episode for here, but you can sort of see a preview of me in the future here of what's going to be happening in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching, feel free to leave any feedback in the comments, and I will see you next time.